Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is award-winning investigative reporter Bob Mackin, publisher of thebreaker.news. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thank you.
Bob, in the latest election hijinks, the Conservatives posted on Twitter yesterday briefly that Prime Minister Trudeau was under investigation by the RCMP and that former CBC television star Rick Mercer supported the Conservatives. Were those claims true?
Well, one is true and one isn't.
Yeah.
The Burnaby North Conservatives and their candidate Heather Leung, I don't think they have any chance of winning that riding. It really is a two-horse race between the incumbent Terry Beach of the Liberals and the NDP challenger on a comeback, Sven Robinson, and that Heather Leung from the Conservatives has done very little to make herself available to reporters over the last several months or articulate her position as a candidate there. I think she's just there to occupy a Conservative spot on the ballot and to help them with fundraising. Rick Mercer was not endorsing the Conservatives and not endorsing that candidate. I don't think the two have ever met, and I don't know if Heather Leung has ever watched any of Rick Mercer's work on TV, Mercer Report, or This Hour's 22 Minutes, or any of his work whatsoever. We don't even know if she's got a sense of humor. Don't even know if she knows where to find Newfoundland on a map. So that was totally off base, and you've got to wonder why whoever it was that did that didn't get fired out of the campaign. It's just unacceptable to use anyone's image without their permission to endorse your campaign. There was no endorsement, and that was not a laughing matter whatsoever. That was not even a good parody, not even a bad parody. Doesn't even deserve to be in the conversation of a parody unless someone wants to do a parody of the Heather Leung Conservative campaign, which is, well, it's a self-parody. It's doing enough parody on its own. But the tweet about the SNC-Lavalin investigation, I was kind of curious about why the Conservatives took that down, because, well, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and looks like a duck, it's a duck. And it passes the duck test that the police have been out there interviewing Jody Wilson-Raybould at least twice, once as recently as a couple of days before the election was called. And we also have that recent story by the Globe and Mail, by Bob Fife, who's been breaking all the stories about this scandal, that the RCMP have been thwarted by the Privy Council office, which is a parallel office to the Prime Minister's office, by the clerk of the Privy Council, who is appointed by Trudeau and basically takes Trudeau's orders, that the RCMP has been asking to have the Privy Council office waive privilege so they can get their hands on the cabinet documents, the same cabinet documents that Mario Dion, ex-commissioner, tried to get his hands on as well, and he was denied access to. So the RCMP, people don't quite understand, do go public with an investigation when they are looking for the help of the public, and they've exercised and exhausted all other leads. Then they put it in news release saying, hey, we need your help on this investigation. Otherwise, they're not really out there advertising that there is an investigation. They don't really have a scoreboard. There's nothing that we can access as journalists. Again, there's no scoreboard for the public or for the media that says that there's X investigation happening at Y time into Z people. That just doesn't exist. But everything that we know so far about this scandal says that the police are doing more than sitting behind a desk. They're out there talking to people, and they're out there trying to get documents. it's a capital, sorry, it's not, it may not be a capital I investigation in the minds of a lot of people, but it certainly is a lowercase I investigation. You can also, call it an examination or a review, whatever, but the bottom line is the police are asking questions about what went on to find out if there was any criminality, if there was any statute broken, and they are asking for documents. They're doing what we pay them to do. And when there's this question about obstruction of justice that was brought up many months ago in a joint letter by various former federal and provincial attorneys general, an open letter to the RCMP commissioner saying that there appears to be a question that you need to look into, the RCMP is looking into it. So, yeah, you can call it an investigation. I don't know why the Conservatives shied away from that, because that's what it is. Although the commissioner of the RCMP in the news conference about the charge against Cameron J. Ortis over allegedly leaking top secret information out of the RCMP, the commissioner of the RCMP, Brenda Lucki, didn't come out herself and say explicitly, yeah, there is an investigation. She basically said that they are looking into it. Again, the RCMP, the police are very understated about this, but the facts that we do know out there, the facts that have not been denied, are that the police are looking into this. They are interviewing people like Jody Wilson-Raybould. They are trying to get documents out of the Privy Council office. Again, it passes the duck test. There is an investigation.
Going to the civilian advisor on security matters for the RCMP being charged under the Official Secrets Act, I think. How deep does this go, and how bad is this for the reputation of the RCMP?
This is very bad, and the timing couldn't be worse, happening right in the middle of an election campaign. This exposes Canada to lots of questions about from its allies around the world. What's going on in the National Police, this police force that Canadians used to be so proud of. Again, these are only charges right now. They haven't really been tested in courts. Cameron J. Ortis, who was raised in Abbotsford, schooled at University of British Columbia, and has been an RCMP senior intelligence officer, running a very specialized unit at the RCMP headquarters. He's in jail and open to bail. He has a hearing later this week. He hasn't even had time to really, put in a formal plea of not guilty yet. But the RCMP have offered a little bit of information, but most of this information has been brought to light by journalists with their sources. Some of the reporters at Global TV, for instance, and this seems to be connected to a Richmond company that was in the business of offering encrypted cell phones for voice and data application. And this connects with an FBI investigation into that company. That it's very possible that, according to these charges, that Cameron J. Ortis was offering people information via this technology about files in the RCMP. Again, it's also the difference between Canada and U.S. or justice systems. When the United States charges someone, they have an indictment sheet, basically a court document that summarizes the case, doesn't tell you everything that they've got. It gives you a nutshell summary of what the allegations are. We don't even have that here in this case. We don't have the official document that says this is what they believe Cameron J. Ortis did. We probably won't get the full story, and this would be a very interesting case to go forward if it gets into court, because there's sensitive matters here. I think that the RCMP is going to do whatever it can to ask the judge, to make applications to the judge, so that as this does go through open court, if it even gets that far, but if it does go through open court, that they'll ask the judge to find a way to allow them to present evidence without allowing them to, or causing them to tip their hand of any national secrets or any investigative techniques there might be at RCMP head office, because that could, in their minds, probably compromise national safety and security as well. But in this case, I did a story on it, spoke with, or tried to get quotes from Paul Evans, a professor at the University of British Columbia in the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs. He is someone who has worked with Cameron J. Ortis. Paul Evans was on his dissertation committee for his doctorate degree, And they also co-published a couple of papers on cybersecurity and Asia Pacific. Paul Evans himself is a former co-head of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada. The other head, while he was serving, was Yun Pa-Wu, who became a Trudeau-appointed senator. And Paul Evans gave a glowing reference about Cameron J. Ortis, that he said that he was shocked by the news of the arrest of Ortis, who he called a, quote, very fine Canadian, and that Paul Evans said that nothing in his experience with Cameron would lead him to suspect that he would be, quote, in any way involved in activities that will lead to such charges. So this came as a surprise to someone who was a close collaborator with him for a number of years in the academic sphere, and we'll see where this goes in the months to come. It couldn't again happen at the worst time, and the questions about the security of information at the RCMP will be live questions, and especially the fact that Cameron J. Ortis, according to his LinkedIn profile, is a Mandarin speaker, and that he's a specialist in East Asian issues and cybersecurity. This comes also at a time when we're getting ready for the 70th anniversary of Communist China on October 1st. There are fears of Chinese Communist Party interference in the Canadian election. And of course, Meng Wanzhou, the Huawei chief financial officer, is back in court next week. And the first phase of the extradition hearings, the first phase in BC Supreme Court this month, will really deal just with disclosure of documents, disclosure of evidence. They won't actually get to the presentation of the case for her extradition until January.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after this.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, is there a connection between pro-communist China protesters and a Liberal candidate?
Yes, there is. Broke the story in thebreaker.news this week about Joe Pescasolido, the Steveston Richmond East candidate for re-election for the Trudeau Liberals. Joe Pescasolido has had an eye on him for the last several years because of some of his clients from his law firm, such as Paul Oy, who was found to be defrauding people who were clients of his for more than $5 million. Pescasolido's law firm was involved in his defense. Pescasolido's law firm specialized in real estate, and there were some deals that Global News found that connect Pescasolido's law firm to someone who is suspected of money laundering and drug dealing. And of course, Pescasolido has been photographed last year with Paul King-Jin, who is the fellow from Richmond who's banned from BC casinos, who is sued right now for civil forfeiture regarding money that the British Columbia government says was gained through criminal enterprise. And also, Joe Pescasolido posed for photos with a fellow named Rongcheng Tiger Wan, who is a veteran of the People's Liberation Army, who Global News has reported that Wan is also under investigation. And so here we have Joe Pescasolido running again. Recently, back in August, there were protests by a very aggressive pro-China nationalist group, very young people, mainly university students or people that have recently been university students. They appeared outside of the Canada Line station at Broadway in Canby in Vancouver, on the day that a group of supporters of Hong Kong's democracy movement had their own protest. Well, there were more people in the pro-China camp. They were louder. They were chanting. They were singing the Chinese national anthem. They were waving brand new flags. They were waving manufactured signs, and they were hurling insults at the Hong Kongers who were separated by police who were there to keep the peace. One of the people that I tried to talk to that day, I got a tip, was Eileen Chen. And she isn't known until people saw my story that she actually is the CEO of a company in Richmond called CYC, Royal International Culture Group Company, also known as HowYou International, and they have 2 offices also in mainland China. They're an advertising company. They're an event management and event production company. She was at the protest. I tried talking to her. My camera was on. Got some still photos and video. Shortly after that, I found out through a source that she had a connection to Joe Pescosolido's campaign. I tried late August to get Pescosolido to comment. Heard nothing back from him. And then on September 15th, that is when Joe Pescosolido opened his campaign office in Richmond, in the Ironwood shopping plaza. And I was, from a source, shown photos of Eileen Chen in the campaign office, taking photos of Joe Pescosolido and some of the supporters, and also helping his supporters take selfies with Joe Pescosolido. She was taking photos for some of the supporters with the supporters' own cell phone, and she was seen conversing with one of the campaign managers, the personal assistant, actually, Michael Wong, to Joe Pescosolido. And I got it confirmed that she is serving as the events assistant in the Chinese community for Joe Pescosolido, and that Michael Wong, Joe Pescosolido's personal assistant, is well aware. He knows that she was at that protest in August, and does not seem to have a care about that. And she's welcome to be working on his campaign, which raises a serious question, a question that was brought up when I interviewed Dermot Travis from Integrity BC, the independent watchdog, Dermot Travis from Victoria, about why this is not causing outrage. Canadians have been concerned by American incursion into Canadian politics and American influence in Canadian politics. Look what's happening in Alberta, where Jason Kenney is, pointing at American-funded environmental groups for causing problems in getting a pipeline expansion happening. He's pointing south to the United States and saying that there's an American conspiracy to landlock Canadian oil. That's one case of a Canadian politician pointing at the United States and basically waving his finger and saying, stop interfering in our politics. Well, Dermot Travis of Integrity BC, on the subject of People's Republic of China-backed organizations that are friendly to the Chinese Communist Party, he asked that question, why aren't Canadians in an uproar when China does this? And China is doing this. We've been warned that China was going to do this by intelligence agencies for quite a while, that China would be doing whatever it could to try to influence and possibly even interfere with the federal election campaign. Warned by official agencies that there would be people from the mainland Chinese community who would volunteer in offices of members of parliament and in offices of candidates. And in this case here, we have someone, Eileen Chen, who has her company, and she was at that protest. I've got photos in the story in the Breaker.news of her with the Chinese flag, chanting at that protest. And it's a question that I wanted to ask her. Didn't get a response by email from her company. I tried, and I didn't get a response when I tried the general manager of her company. Didn't get a response from Joe Pescosolido either. I tried him. He never called me back. And I'd be glad to talk to them, glad to put my questions to them and hear their answers about a potential conflict of interest. Whose side is Eileen Chen on? Is she working for the Chinese government, or is she just sympathizing with the Chinese government? And why is someone who's sympathizing with the Chinese government helping out in the Canadian political campaign? There seems to be a conflict there because this is two different systems. We've got democracy here that we have in Canada with the rule of law and freedom of speech. China doesn't have those. China doesn't have that. And what is Ms. Chen's motivation? What is her end goal? I'd like for her to answer some of those questions. I think it's very important, especially when you've got someone who, as vocal as she was on August 17th at the pro-China demonstration, standing right there in the front row. You couldn't miss her if you were there, as I was. She was not hiding at all from any of the cameras. She wanted to be seen, and she wanted to be heard as well. She had her opinion that day. In Canada, you've got the right to protest, absolutely, but I, as a journalist, have the right to also ask those questions of people getting involved in the political process, especially someone as her, as important as her to Joe Pasqualito's campaign, being the events coordinator in the Chinese community. Her job essentially is to help Joe Pasqualito make connection with voters in the Chinese community to get their votes so that he can stay in power as the MP for another 4 years. And Joe Pasqualito, if he does win election and if Trudeau stays with the majority, there's a majority level government after October 21st, then Joe Pasqualito would have a case to be made that he could be appointed to cabinet. Certainly he'll be pushing that case if he gets elected. Still, there's a lot of time to go until the October 21st election, and hopefully we can get some answers about why there is a pro-China protester in the office of incumbent candidate for the Liberal Party of Canada.
We'll have more with Bob Mackin right after this.
Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Bob Mackin. Bob, is there yet another BC connection to the U.S. college admissions bribery scandal?
Yes, there is. I reported on this in August. The Los Angeles Times broke a story back in August about a woman in the Metro Vancouver area, Xiaoning Shui. The story that I broke, because I found some court documents, connected Xiaoning Shui to Surrey. And just this week, the United States Department of Justice announced that Xiaoning Shui of Surrey had been arrested in Spain on charges of fraud, being involved in the college admissions scandal. She's the 52nd person charged. She is supposed to face justice in Boston, but is pending extradition from Spain first. In the indictment against Ms. Shui, she's accused of paying $400,000 in bribes so that her tennis-playing son could be recruited. Ms. Shui is accused of paying $400,000 in bribes so that her tennis-playing son could be recruited to play soccer at the University of California, Los Angeles, except he wasn't going there to play soccer, and he never played competitive soccer up to the level that would anywhere get him into any university or any college anywhere. The reason he was recruited to the soccer team was that was the way he was going to get into UCLA so he could study there and gain a university diploma at a prestigious school. His profile, his biography, had even his photograph, according to this indictment, had all been faked to make it look like he was a top player on on two private soccer teams in Canada. He did get the admission, and not only did he get admission to UCLA, he also got a 25% discount, a 25% scholarship to study at UCLA. And this all happened because there was first a $100,000 payment allegedly made in October of last year by Xiaoning Shui to the bank account of Rick Singer, who is the ringleader in this whole college admissions scandal, and that the money would be given to Jorge Salcedo, who was the coach of the UCLA soccer team, in exchange for that recruitment letter. And that recruitment letter was like gold. That allowed Xiaoning Shui to take that to the UCLA admissions office to get her son admitted and also on the scholarship list. And then in February of this year, the Department of Justice alleges that Xiaoning Shui wired another $300,000 to Rick Singer through his phony educational foundation in Massachusetts. Rick Singer himself has pleaded guilty to racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud, and obstruction of justice, and he has turned into a state witness to try to reduce the penalty on him. Others have also pleaded guilty and cut plea bargains as well to reduce the penalty against them. This is quite fascinating because this is the second person from British Columbia who has been charged in this whole scandal. The first, of course, was David Sadu back in March, and it wasn't until he was actually arrested and spent a weekend in jail in San Jose, California, not until after that weekend back in March was this whole scandal exposed and the indictments unsealed. David Sadu is pleading not guilty. He has pleaded not guilty, and he has a status conference for his case on October 2nd. And we're no closer to finding out, until at least October 2nd, when this will go to trial, unless, of course, David Sadu negotiates a plea bargain. And I don't know if that'll happen or if he'll try to fight these charges right to the end. There's a lot of evidence against him. Each of the defendants in this case received a hard drive and a DVD full of digital evidence, including transcripts, including copies of emails and copies of receipts and invoices, and also audio files of the conversations that were made, because Rick Singer, when he did turn to state's witness, he agreed with the authorities to wear a wiretap. So there's a lot of wiretap audio of Rick Singer speaking with the various defendants in this case. We don't know exactly how much, but we can only assume that there would be some of that in the hard drive and DVD that David Sadu has, because in the indictment against David Sadu, there are direct quotes from conversations that he had on the phone with Rick Singer. Of course, David Sadu is accused of paying more than $200,000 so that a Harvard-educated tennis coach could come to Vancouver and write college entrance exams for his sons, Dylan and Jordan. His sons are not charged in this, got to emphasize that, but David Sadu is charged in this fraud and money laundering case, and he could face up to 20 years in prison. We'll see what happens on October 2nd when he returns to court in Boston. Whether he returns in court himself in person is another question, but his lawyers will definitely be there for the status conference in his case, and we'll see what course it takes after that date, if we will see a trial in this or if something else might happen unexpected. This has been a very fascinating case all along, involving some very wealthy people and some people who are involved in Hollywood as well.
Has a former aide to ex-Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson landed himself a fat contract with the BC government without a bid?
Yes, indeed. Kevin Quinlan was Gregor Robertson's second and last chief of staff in the office of the mayor of Vancouver from 2016 to 2018. Kevin Quinlan had spent many years in the office of the mayor before then, in various roles in communications and also in advisory roles. And one of the duties that Kevin Quinlan actually had, I found, was that he was the Twitter ghostwriter for Gregor Robertson. Gregor Robertson, for some reason, couldn't write all his tweets, so Kevin Quinlan had to step in and do the 140 characters or less for Gregor Robertson. I found that because I also was able to find Greg Robertson's secret email account on Gmail. That's another story. But Kevin Quinlan received a $22,000 contract, no-bid contract on May 31st from John Horgan's office for what is called Coordination Services for the Food Security Task Force Project. The government's looking at food security, and the ministries of Agriculture and Jobs, Technology, and Trade are in on this project, and they want to boost agri-tech and reduce food waste, and they brought Kevin Quinlan on to offer some advice on this food security task force project, because he's opened up his own little company, which he provides advice and does some lobbying work with. And one of his first contracts, big contract that we know of, is with the office of the Premier, John Horgan. And it's interesting to notice that John Horgan's office, the Chief of Staff there, is Jeff Meigs. Jeff Meigs, who was a Vancouver City Councillor until July 2017, when he quit Vision Vancouver and quit City Council to join John Horgan's office. And Kevin Quinlan is not the only person to have benefited from Jeff Meigs in his position in the Premier's office. Various people that were movers and shakers within Vision Vancouver or were City Hall bureaucrats during the Vision Vancouver years have been appointed to a variety of positions with the government. There's a group of people that are on various health authorities. Penny Ballum, the former city manager, is the chair of Vancouver Coastal Health. Carrie Jang, who is a Vision Vancouver councillor, is on the board of the Provincial Health Services Authority, for instance. And there's others who were donors or members of City Hall committees or in the Parks Board, or were Vision Vancouver fundraisers that have received positions. A general manager at Vancouver City Hall until recently, Keemathini Krishna, while she left Vancouver City Hall to go to work in Victoria as the Deputy Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. That was last March. Nikki Sharma, who was a Vision Park Board Commissioner, is an aide to Katrina Chen, the Minister of State for Childcare. And Diego Cardona, who ran twice for City Council and lost twice under the Vision Vancouver banner, is an aide to Melanie Mark, the Advanced Education Minister. Raymond Louie's got a gig. Heather Deal's got a gig. Some of these are big, some of them are small, but this all allows them to get some access to the provincial government in one way, shape, or form. And of course, one of the first people that was appointed to a provincial government board after the NDP won power back in July 2017, after it defeated the Liberals with help from the Greens in that famous throne speech vote. One of the first people to get a position on the provincial board was Joel Solomon. On the board of governors of the University of British Columbia. Joel Solomon was key in the rise of Vision Vancouver as their bagman. And he's also the chair of the Hollyhock Resort in Cortez Island. All these people have been able to enjoy positions, some volunteer, some paying, some full-time, some not full-time, with the provincial government in one way, shape, or form to serve John Horgan and his vision because of their connections to Jeff Meigs, the Chief of Staff, and the former Vision Vancouver City Councillor.
Interesting stuff, Bob. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
My guest has been award-winning investigative reporter Bob Mackin, publisher of TheBreaker.News, his website, TheBreaker.ca. If you have any questions for Bob or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.